Hello, second grade, and welcome to Writing Workshop Day 2. So yesterday you started writing a narrative by thinking of a topic and planning what you're going to say across the pages so that you could write a lot when you got to each page. Friends, today we are actually going to hit the target. I thought about how to write a good beginning and chose a way to start my story. I chose the action, talk, or setting that would make a good beginning. So today on Tuesday is when I said we were going to work on our lead. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the fact that a lead is where you hook your readers and you get their attention and you make them want to read your piece. We're going to introduce characters, who was in the story with us, their names, even you'll get to know maybe some of the traits of your characters. And of course, the setting. We want to be able to picture being there with you. So I want to tell you a little bit more about what goes into a great second grade lead. So again, leads are meant to grab your reader, hook them into wanting to read your piece, introduce characters, and make sure that they can picture the setting. They know what time of year it was or what time of day it was. They know what it looked like or felt like outside. And here's some great choices you have on your lead menu to help your reader picture being with you. So the setting lead, you probably remember a lot of our mentor texts, a lot of our books that started with kind of really describing the setting, using a lot of five senses describing words. Here's one from The Leaving Morning. Do you remember this one? The leaving happened on a soupy, misty morning when you could hear the street sweeper shh. Friends, I can actually see the mist in the air when I read that opening. I can feel that it was kind of damp and soupy out, and I could actually hear the street sweeper. So this author did a fabulous job of really bringing me right into the setting. Do you remember this setting lead? On the outskirts of town, at the edge of the forest, there was a little old house. The only thing older than the little house was the man who lived in it, Old Man Fuquire. Remember, that was from Those Darn Squirrels? Friends, we were introduced to the character. We know that he's an old man, and we also kind of know the setting. We know it's at the edge of a forest in a little town, in a little old house. Friends, another lead that I just was reminded of in this Leaving Morning lead was a sound lead, because they kind of use some sound in that first lead. An onomatopoeia is another word for using a sound effect that you could actually hear. So do you remember this lead from Creak Said the Bed? One dark night, in the middle of the night, Mom and Dad were snoozing in bed. Squeak went the door. They kind of used some playful words there, and you could really hear like you were listening and you were right there in the setting with the character. Another couple of very popular leads are a dialogue lead and a thinking lead. And I'll tell you why these are a little similar. In a dialogue lead, you're actually starting with a quote. You are using a quote of either you talking to somebody else or someone talking to you. Just like in Jabari Jumps, when Jabari was saying, "I'm jumping up the diving board today," Jabari told his dad. "Really?" said his dad. You know, dialogue leads are neat because we feel like we're another character standing right there with the characters, hearing the whole thing. Same thing in Ralph Tells a Story. My teacher always said, stories are everywhere. Now, another lead you could use is a thinking lead. It's kind of like you are having dialogue, but it's to yourself and it's inside your head. But it's still kind of like having a conversation. Here's an example. I thought to myself, how will I ever get out of this mess? You can actually kind of feel when you're talking to yourself and bringing the inside out. You can kind of feel what the character is feeling. How about this one? I felt nervous as I walked through the door, but I knew it was going to be an adventure. Friends, an action lead is another really popular lead that I saw quite a bit, and I love it because we feel like we're watching a movie. We can see the characters moving, their bodies are moving. How about this one? My heart raced with excitement as I stepped onto the roller coaster. And when we use this kind of lead, we use some really strong verb choices, like raced, my heart raced with excitement. You can just feel that heart beating as I stepped onto the roller coaster. Think about this one too. The salty water crashed over Sarah's shoulders and sent her tumbling in a twisted spiral. I like the adjective, a twisted spiral. Those are great, that's great word choice, and I can actually see the character tumbling in the waves. And the last lead I wanted to remind you of that we talked quite a bit about in second grade was a question lead. You might actually talk to your reader right away, get them involved in your piece, and then tell them your story. Take them on your journey with you. Have you ever felt the thrill of jumping off a 10-foot diving board? And then tell your story about doing that. Or did you know that the San Diego Zoo has over 4,000 rare and endangered animals? And then you tell your story about seeing some of those animals when you went to the zoo. So friends, now I have a little quiz for you. I'm gonna read you a lead and I'm gonna let you think of what type of lead it is. Off this menu, what type of lead did some of our favorite authors use? Here's one. D.W. and her brother Arthur were helping their mother unpack the groceries. What do you think? Helping unpack the groceries. I think it's an action lead too. That's what you guessed? What about this one? Sarah dear, time to get out of bed, Mr. Hartwell said, poking his head through the bedroom doorway. Yep, a quote. I can hear Mr. Hartwell talking to Sarah, almost as if I was standing right there. And then this last one, what do you think? It was in the summer of the year when the relatives came. They came up from Virginia. You think so? I think that this is a setting lead. We're picturing what time of year it was and who the characters are going to be. So I'm excited to show you my lead today, but I wanted to tell you something. Instead of just choosing which kind of lead made the most sense for my story and just writing it, I actually added a little bit more to my Post-it notes. So I want to show you that. As you may have guessed, I chose to use a thinking lead and bring my inside thoughts and feelings out, because you know that I really wanted to go water skiing, and I watch these same people ski every year, and I was always wishing it was me. So that is the lead that I chose. But then I also tried to plan, before I just start writing, I'm going to plan what's going to be on that page. So I planned what I was doing. I planned where I was. I planned when the story was taking place. I jotted all those things down. I don't want to spend a lot of time with full sentences, just a really quick stop and jot with some bullet points. And then I also planned who was going to be on the very first page. So let me show you the lead I came up with. And I hope that I'm hooking you right away and really making you feel what I was feeling and see what I was seeing. So here it is, friends. Water skiing success. Oh, how I wished I could water ski, I thought to myself. Summer after summer, I sat on the pier at Sunset Resort watching the Buckmillers spend their vacation laughing and cheering as their boys weaved in and out of the frothy waves of their boat. So as you can see, I brought the inside out. I introduced you to what I was doing sitting on the pier, where I was at Sunset Resort, and I even introduced you to a family, some characters. Then I actually started a new paragraph, which you'll do a lot in third grade, but I wanted to introduce you to some more characters, so I kind of indented and made a new paragraph. My parents suggested that it looked like begging to watch them for hours, but I couldn't help it. I loved the thrill on the family's faces, and I wondered if this was the year they would ask me to join in. So friends, as you can see, I took a lot of time to think about the kind of lead that made the most sense for my story. I thought about what I wanted in the lead, and it sounded a whole lot better, don't you think, than just one day a nice family took me water skiing. I could have done that, but I don't think that you would have felt what I was feeling. I feel like you can even see the Buckmillers laughing, and I feel like maybe I gave you a little inside hint to some traits of my family. My family was proud. They didn't want their daughter to be looking like they were begging. They were also very conscientious. They didn't want the family to kind of be bothered by me kind of just watching the skiing happening. So I wanted to really make you understand and feel what I was feeling at that time. And when you move forward today on just your lead, really take your time to plan it out. As you can see, I wrote a lot of lines across this page. So have fun today with your lead. You can go to your slides and choose what kind of lead makes the most sense. And I can't wait to hear what you did tomorrow. Take care.